Today we're making some new spring bee crafts. Keep watching. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome. We're going to start off with a little bit of antiquing wax, of course. Got some water wipes. Any type of baby wipe would work as well. I have a variety of ribbons that we might look at using. Some from the Dollar Tree, some not. Jute, of course. And then these little frames that I got from Dollar Tree. So I have 3 different sets, 2 different types of round ones. So the tops and bottoms need to match for these projects that we're doing today. And then here's a square one. I've also done another project with one that's a little different variation of the square. You can use fabric pieces. This one is from Dollar Tree from year before last, I think. This is a decal with the bee on it. I have some yellow cellophane paper. And then I have a napkin, just as an example. Any napkin you like. And this one has 2 different prints on it and 4. So look at all the things you can do with that one napkin. We're just going to start off by treating all of these frame pieces. So I'm going to use one of these water wipes. I just got mine in a case from Amazon. It's really not that important what kind you get. Well, I wouldn't think it makes a difference. Just a water wipe. No additional fancy schmancy aloe or anything in it. And then I'm going to rub it into the wipe a little bit. This is going to make the coverage a little more sheer instead of solid. If you like a solid coverage, then you can go ahead and use the sponge, like a dry sponge brush or regular paintbrush. It's going to take longer to dry if you do it that way, but it's totally up to you what you like. Excuse me, y'all, allergies. All right, so I'm going to go all the way around. Not important to do the back, but we are going to do the same treatment to the other one. And if you can look at the 2 of them and compare and kind of make sure that you get the same coverage on both of them, that's how I like to do it. There you go. Well, these are just laser cut, so, you know, they're not even really exact. So now I'm going to use some of this black chalk paint. I don't remember if I picked up the Java or... No, it's just solid black. All right, this is a little sponge pouncer, and you normally would use this for something like a stencil. But I thought, let's try it because it should give less coverage. It's sort of like the sponges that you would put makeup on with. So I thought, you know, a little bit less heavy of a coverage should make this dry quicker. And it actually did work that way. So, you know, a lot of crafting is experimenting and getting the right kind of tools to get the job done. So I like to play around and, you know, use different things to make different crafts. It gives a different look, a different appearance. And with this, you don't have to worry about the paint pooling up in each of those little cutout areas, which is what I really liked about doing this way, along with the fact that it dried fairly quickly. So I've got a full coverage on the front of this, if you wanted to pretend like this was a face of makeup. Full coverage all around. And because it's a laser cut, it actually has dark brown around the edges and on the insides too, so you don't have to worry about getting on the insides necessarily. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to take the time to do it. So same treatment on the other one, all the way around, until we have 2 black frame pieces. There you go. Put them aside and let them dry, and we'll start working on the next one. So the next one's going to be sort of a combination. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the wax, and I'm going to cover both of these in a wax. About the same coverage on both of them. The more you use, of course, the heavier the coverage. If you get it a little bit too light, add some more and go back over it, just like you see me doing now. This is very, very easy to do. So I thought for the square one, we would do something a little different, like make it a little more rustic looking. So we're going to use the stain, but then we're going to go back over it and dry brush a little bit of that same black chalk paint over the top of it to give it more of a, you know, a little rustic look. Same thing on this one. And you don't have to put the wax on the back. In fact, if you're going to glue anything together, I don't recommend you have wax on a surface that you're going to glue, because it can sometimes cause it to repel the adhesion and it won't hold. Okay, so now I'm just going to quickly go over this with my dryer. This is not necessary if you don't have a heat tool. You don't have to do this. You can just leave them to dry on their own. Walk away, do another craft, go get a cup of coffee, whatever you like. Okay, if you're learning something new so far on this channel, I would appreciate if you would subscribe and join me here. I am striving to teach you all something new. Every single time I bring you a video, I want to give you some tips and some things that help. So speaking of tips, if you have a blunt brush, but you want to use it as more of a chippy coverage, like you would use when you're dry brushing, you can just take some scissors and cut into the end of the brush and up into the brush slightly. And I'm not even closing the scissors all the way down. And this is going to give you a little more of a uneven edge like you would find in a dry brushing technique. And my brushes are, yeah, I had to throw them away, and it's time for me to get new chippy brushes. So we're just going to make do with what we got. And I think this worked very well for the look I was trying to achieve. So I just added a little bit of the black in the end of the brush and then patted it off on that same damp cloth that I had been using, that same white. And now I'm going to go over this with a little bit of that black. It's going to give it more of an aged look. You see the difference that makes? I like that. I like that. You know, doing these types of things with your crafts is what's going to make them set, you know, step out and stand above, I guess, the rest of the projects that you see other people do. Yours is going to be special. You're going to have something a little different going on. So, you know, I like that. I like that about my crafts. You make them unique. Make them your own, y'all. Make them your own. So now I've got those two pieces done. And I like them like this. Yes, yes. Going to make sure that they have time to dry as well. And we're going to start off with the first project, which is the napkin charm. So I decided to use, originally I was going to use the yellow mushrooms, but then I decided to use the brown. I just went a little bit off the beaten path. This is not going to be like a bee project. Not this one in particular, but if you can find a really pretty napkin with a bee on it that you want to use this inspiration and you can do your own thing. Okay, so what you see me doing is using this little wooden tool to just go over the areas of the napkin that look like they have little puckers or little dots in them. That's how they put the napkins together. So if you break those slightly by rubbing over them, the napkin will pull apart, and then you'll have your two layers. I want mine to have more of a sheer look so that light can shine through it. This is going to be very fragile, y'all, so keep that in mind. Keep it in mind. But I wanted to be able to see light through it so that if you use this charm in a window or kitchen window or in your office, you can see the light shine through it, right? That's kind of the idea I wanted to give you with this. So attach this down. We're going to have our frame flipped over, and I'm just going to use some of this fix-all adhesive that comes from Dollar Tree. You can use any type of glue that you would like, but you're gonna want to likely use something that is thick like this instead of something that is more wet like a school glue, because if it's wet, it's gonna tear your tissue and you don't want that to happen. So because this is a gel, it stays in place exactly like it should. And I'm just going to sort of eyeball it to get the center and then put this down on top of that napkin. I'm just going to press a little bit and then very carefully slide and pick it up. Because if you're not careful, then you're going to tear it. You're going to tear it. It's going to stick to the table. Just be very careful. If you got a silicone mat, that would probably be helpful. All right, I'm just tapping it down in there to make sure it's covered. I've got my little utility blade over here, and I'm just going to go down in the crack. This particular square frame, and the other one did as well, had these little lines on the side, little openings. And so I want to clean that up. I don't want this to be seen through the filigree on the sides. I want all that tissue to be gone and it to look like it is just in the middle and that the frame on the outside is an actual frame. So we're cleaning up the edges. Does that make sense, what I'm saying to you? We're just cleaning that up so you can't see it when you flip it over. Be sure when you're doing these projects too, I think it goes without saying, but sometimes we need to be reminded when we get, head over heels into our crafting projects. Be sure when you're staining or painting that you wash your hands thoroughly before you start touching your fabrics, your tissues, your stuff like that. Because if you don't, it's going to transfer over and you're going to mess your project up. You're going to be really disappointed in yourself for doing that because it wouldn't have taken but just a minute to clean your hands up, right? Ask me how I know, y'all. Ask me how I know. So I'm going to continue to clean up around the edges here until I don't have any openings. Then you take a pencil, a flat tool, a screwdriver, whatever you have, and make sure that when you have flipped it back over, everything is nice and smooth and you can still see through it. I'm going to go along on pieces of the frame and add a little bit of this glue. You can also add a little bit of hot glue on here too, but you want to put down these adhesives first because they are going to be give you a little more time to dry. When you put down the hot glue, it's going to dry quickly, but we just want the hot glue to hold in place while the other adhesive touches, right? It's going to catch and dry. Okay, I'm going to give it a moment, and then when you flip it over, look at that. You can see the light from my window shining right through it. Get any glue out that's kind of sticking out of there. You can use a weeding tool. You can use, again, like a flathead screwdriver to clean up on the inside. That is my Cricut weeding tool, but you can get a little weeding tool from Dollar Tree, and I think they're pink. And finger protectors too. So this is what it's going to look like. And yes, I absolutely made a boo-boo on my little mushroom down there, and it's got a little tear in it. My mess up, so, learn from my mistakes, y'all. And if you want to leave the second ply on there to make it a little stronger, you can do that too. But I like the idea of this. It looks like rice paper, and I thought that it looked very delicate and pretty. It's just one of those things that you can't slam together and expect for it to just hold up to any kind of weather, right? Some things are a little more delicate. And this is an example of one of those. So I'm just using jute and just tying it around what's already on there, making it easy. And now we have this beautiful little charm that you can hang out of your window, that you can, hang off of a lamp. I'm all about charms these days, and I think that this is such a cute little natural piece. It would be so pretty with a bee in there, wouldn't it? So I've taken it outside on the back porch and have displayed it for you so you can see what it's going to look like. You just pretend like this frame is a window to give you an idea of what it would look like. It's matching that brick pretty well though, isn't it? Looks pretty good together. The decal charm is next. So here are those black frames. Here's our little bee decal. I did get this from TEMU. If you're interested, I'm an affiliate, but I'd be more than glad to grab that link for you so you can get one of these of your own. I thought, okay, it's got a clear backing, so that's perfect, but we need to take off the sticker that's on it because I don't want to see that through, right? When the light shines through it, you can see it. If you're going to be peeling off one of these stickers, use whatever method you like. I wouldn't recommend heat at this point because it might cause an issue because it's a sticker, it's a decal. It might melt. But a little bit of plain water on the back, and I'm just gently scraping my, yes, that's a cheese knife. It absolutely is, but I like to use it for this type of tool, and it is perfect. I'm telling you now, it's perfect. I can just scrape it all off, then I can wipe off the back and get the residue off, and it's perfect. No more problems. We're going to leave it right on its backing. We don't even have to take it off. It's going to be like a stained glass insert for this frame. Look at that, y'all. I mean, come on. That right there is cute. That is so cute. Love it. So now I want to trim it up a little bit because I don't want to see the edges underneath that. So I'm just going to flip it over and use a pen. You see I switched pens there. And of course I was talking on the phone while I was doing this, so I was second guessing everything I was doing while I was chatting it up with my friend. Yep. Yes, y'all. I have a friend. I do have a really nice friend. And it's not a girl. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we were talking and I was working. And yeah. Go around that circle. Go all the way around that circle on the outside because you want to cut out enough that you have a surface that you can apply the glue to, right? So you want to be sure you have plenty of room left there that you can glue those pieces together. Otherwise, if you flipped it the other way and traced it, it would just fall right through there. Okay, so now we're going to flip it over. Now we have the perfect amount to go around the inside and to glue this in place easily. I'll go around here, trying not to let anything squish out, but you know, sometimes it's going to. Just be prepared. It takes a little while for this to dry. So if you get a little tool that you can scrape with, you can just clean it up. It's not hard. I'll even show you how I do mine. Okay, so we're on the inside of this frame and we're going to face that downward. Press those edges into that glue. Just going to tap it down. And then I'll add more glue so that I can put the other frame on. And like I said before, you can definitely use hot glue on this if you want to. After you get your decal in there, you can just put the frames together with hot glue. It was making little strings everywhere. Easy enough, right? All right, now I'm going to sandwich this right in between. Now, as close as these two pieces look like they were identical, they were not identical. They had, they were definitely not exactly the same. And you can tell it with the wood color underneath the black. So we're going to address this first. We're going to get the spillage off. We're going to get that excess off of there. Okay. But you can see the wood underneath. So I'm going to grab that brush, go back into the black. You need to be sure that you give it time to dry or you use some clamps to hold it in place so it's not sliding around. I'm just going to give you an example. Here's a little clamp. And then I'm going to go on the inside and not get it on my decal, but just on the inside of the openings and getting those covered in black so you don't see the difference between the top and the bottom. Also,
don't forget to like,
you could
comment, and
paint
share.
the inside of these black as well before you glue them down, and that would keep you from having to do this. Totally up to you how you want to do it. And so this is what that is going to look like so far. I like it. I love that we can see through it. Very cute. These little sun catcher charms that you can put in your windows. I just love it. I love it. Now, my sink at my house is on an island, so it doesn't look out a window, but there's a big window by the table where I do my work. So I can hang this right in the center and look at the sunshine through it. It's just a cute little happy. Just a little happy, a little easy. I'm just taking some thin ribbon, but you can use jute, you can use whatever you would like, and just go through the holes that are already there on that frame. And then pull up a knot in the end, trim it off just a little bit, and I have a little hanger now. Be sure you're leaving yourself enough room in your hanger that you can get it around the lock mechanism or whatever you want to hang it off of. Just be sure you have enough and you check that out first. And if you wanted to use these on a lamp or something, you wouldn't want to tie your knot. You would leave your ribbon ends free and then just tie it around and then take it off by untying it when you want to remove it. I'm taking some scrap fabric from the bees. You can use ribbon to do this too, but I thought let's just go ahead because they're frayed a little bit and it gives it that little country look. And I'll just cut these pieces. And I think they ended up being like 4.5. I think the ruler said 4.5 inches for these pieces to give you an idea. And I'm just going to kind of fray a little bit, tear them, cut them until I make me some X's. Then I have a little ribbon over here that's we're going to use on the bottom because they were scraps, they were leftover pieces, they match what's going on, and I like that in the back. It's a bolder, sort of a bolder print on that ribbon. I'll use a piece of ribbon in the middle. Again, use jute if you would like. And I'm just going to tie this right in the middle of that squished X that we made. And this is going to make a little messy looking scrappy bow. And then you can adjust it. So I can pull it a little bit. I can make sure that my ends are about even, and then I can trim off any parts that I would like to trim off. You can leave some long, you know, you can make your bow thicker, you can use more pieces. Make sure that your printed side are, you know, that they're upward, of course. And the ribbon that I had on the back, we're just going to use to attach it. Rather than using glue, I'm just going to go ahead and use this and tie it right around the base of where we have our hanger. You can do a double knot and then trim it off, make it nice and neat. So far we've used the napkin to do a charm, and we've used a decal to do a charm. We're going to have another option here in a minute for you. And at this point I remembered, oh wait, you've got some bee charms somewhere. Where are the bee charms? So I've fixed my bow as good as I can get it fixed. And you can add beads to your ribbon too. I thought about that. That's why the box is sitting down there in the corner. I thought about doing a bead, but I changed my mind. I thought, yeah, I'm gonna get the decals out. I mean these little jeweled pieces. You can also use something like buttons or little wood beads for decoration if you want a little extra. But these are a bunch of different ones that you would use for making jewelry. And I chose this one. And I'll just add some glue on the back and put it on the frame. You know, maybe that's a little drone bee, a little worker bee, and she's out there protecting the queen bee. Look at that. Who's on the hive. She's on the comb. This is cute. Oh, y'all, I like that. So here it is outside. You can see that you can see through it. It's a little bit opaque. It's not completely clear. But if you can get it where the light is shining through a window, it's going to be spectacular. I hope you like this one. Huge thank you to the channel members whose monthly contribution helps with supplies, the coffee, the extra goings on in the business. I appreciate you so much. The fabric charm is next. So here's the one that the other round one that we just stained or used our wax on. And then we have cellophane. If you want to make it plain with just this in the middle for a sun catcher, you can do it like this. Very easy. But I thought, hey, let's make it double-sided. So I'm going to use a piece of the fabric. Do yourself a favor and iron your fabric first. I don't have any idea where my iron is. Maybe in the garage. Not entirely sure. But yeah, it was not a starch I wanted to go on this particular day. So I just decided to leave it as is and teach you how to do it the right way. Yeah, I'll tell you how to do it the right way. How about that? So I'm going to go around this circle. I'm going on the outside of where I drew the line because, again, you need extra on there because you have to have something that's going to reach the edges of that frame on the inside. So we're on the back side of one of the frames, so the side that is not stained. Adding some of that glue. I am sure that E6000 is much better than this. But when I am doing projects like this, I like to use smaller tubes because if it dries out, you're not wasting a huge tube, right? You use a little tube. If it dries out, you pitch it and you go get another one. It's kind of where it was on this. All right, then I'm going to sandwich it in and I'm going to glue it down too. That little part is, you didn't get to see that part, but yeah. We're going to sandwich that in there. Same process. I'm going to put some weights on it and let it dry. I'll take a craft knife and we're going to start by taking off some of the cellophane around the edges. Get your spectacles, ladies and gents. Then I'm going to take my scissors and, like I said, just kind of get the excess off. You can cut it into whatever angles you want to, but you want to be sure that you kind of get into those dips. And you can use the utility knife as well to go down into those curves. I don't want to go inside the intricate pieces because I love the idea of that looking like a honeycomb. Right? Okay, so now that I've cut it down, I thought, let me use my heat tool because I know that it'll melt plastic. I put it on low and then ran it along the edge. I just kind of kept moving it, and it just shrunk it right down to the frame. Absolute, look at that, look at it. Oh my gosh, obsessed. Right down to the frame, perfect. It looks like it was manufactured that way. Does that not look like stained glass? Oh, I love it when something goes right in crafting. And then you can see when I tilt it that you can see the yellow. It looks white, and then when you tilt it, you can see the yellow behind it. I love that. So you get two different looks, right? At nighttime, you see the white, and in the daytime, when the light's shining through, you got that yellow. So if you want to use a ribbon to hang it, you can do that. If you want to make a hanger for it different than what we did before, here's another option for you. I'm using just a little piece, it's like a scrap piece of pipe cleaner, which I have twisted on one end, leaving an opening or a loop at the top, and then I'm going to glue it right down in the back. This is sufficient. It is sufficient because it's not a heavy piece. It's going to hang there all day long off that little hanger. No problem. So that's how this one looks. Looks like the bees are on a flower or on a hive, doesn't it? Oh, it's cute. And here she is outside. And it's just on a wreath hanger. Just got it stretched on a wreath hanger there. I think it's sweet. Simple and sweet. But again, iron yours. You can see a line on mine and it's driving me nuts. Okay, the next one is a bee wreath. This is sort of a bonus, y'all. Part of the footage is missing, so this roll with it. Let's start off with the bow here. Just going to show you how I am making this bow. I've got some polka dot ribbon here in the colors that I like. They match what I have going on in the wreath, which again I will explain. This is a very, very easy bow. I'm going to be making this exact same bow with several different pieces or colors and prints of ribbon. Okay? So let me explain to you what I did on that wreath. The wreath was thrifted. No, it was given to me. It was given to me. I fluffed it out. I took off there was a weird meshy looking bow that was on the top. Totally removed that. Fluffed it out. I had that Sweet as Honey and that Honey Stir wood piece that I got at the thrift store. I used pipe cleaners and staples to attach those together, and then I used the pipe cleaners to go through that frame, that wreath frame, onto the base underneath. It is an 8-inch wreath frame, but the greenery stretches it out to over 12 inches. Okay, so I put those down where I like them, and then I took 3 little thrifted, it looks like dandelions, like large dandelions, and I put those together. I staggered the height, and I put them together with a pipe cleaner, and then tuck them behind the Sweet as Honey sign. So now everything is attached to the wreath, and we are moving on with the part of the bow. So far on the bow, we're catching up, y'all. We're catching up. We have got 3 different types of ribbon. So the ribbon on the bottom came from Amazon, I do believe, the polka dot one. It is wired. The ribbon that has the bee print and the honeycomb print that I'm holding right now, those came from Dollar Tree. And then this one, I think I want to say I got this one at Hobby Lobby on clearance one year. Like spring clearance, I think I did. But it's smaller and it is not wired. So I'm going to make that bow a little bit smaller. If you use an unwired ribbon and you make it too big, it will be floppy, which is fine if floppy is the look that you're going for. That's not what I was going for on this. So we'll just take some of the length out of the loops, make it a little bit shorter, and make our bow a little more varied, and that is totally okay. All right, so I'm using a pipe cleaner. I don't have it completely attached or pulled tight until I check my bows, which is when I put my fingers in there and lift them up to make sure the loops are equal. Then you can cut the excess off. You could also put a wire in there before you tighten it all the way down so that you can attach it, but we're going to get it attached on here. Don't worry about that. Now, like I say about bows, it's always important that you fluff out your bows. Fluffy, fluff, fluff, fluff. I'm going to grab a white pipe cleaner, go around the middle of the bow. It's going to cover up my hardware in there, and then I'm going to go down to the wreath frame. So through the greenery, and into the wreath frame. If you crush the greenery, then you're going to have a gap in your wreath, and I don't want that. I want my wreath to be nice and full, so be sure you just take the time and you kind of fish that through there. Okay, now it is firmly attached and we can continue with the fluffage. We're going to keep fluffing and pulling out the loops with the wired ones. Be sure you put your fingers in there and you open them up. We don't want flat bows on here. We're going to pull those tails down and cut them in a variety of lengths because it really doesn't matter on this one. This is not something formal. It's rustic, it's country, it's fun. This is just too cute. And like I said, I could have left this off because of the missing footage, but I didn't want to do that because it's so cute. And I just want to show you that maybe you have a wreath at home that you don't like anymore. It doesn't suit your needs. Maybe you were going to donate it, but maybe you could strip it and repurpose it. Then you could save a little bit of money and you could still have that base piece that you really enjoy. And since we didn't use hot glue on the wreath itself, these things can be removed and you can use it again for another project. Gotta love that, right? We're saving money over here. So these are two little, they're almost like, they could be erasers for kids, I don't know, but I got them at the thrift store. And they're two little bees that are so cute, and I love the size of them for this wreath. So I'm just gonna put one in the dandelions, and I'm gonna put one over here on the honey dipper. Of course, right down there in the honey. To complete this adorable little spring and summer sweet as honey wreath. You guys are sweet as honey. Yes, you are. I appreciate every one of you. I would love to have you a part of my channel. If you're not already part of this channel, please become a subscriber and give me a thumbs up if this is the type of material you like to see on my channel. I'm certainly going to be doing more of it. I want to remind you today that you're important, that you matter, and the world's a better place with you here. Keep being sweet as honey. You keep being sweet. You keep putting out that positive energy and love and vibes. That's what we love about you. I'll see you soon. Bye.